Good morning, Card Community. It's RJ, and it is time for the Sunday Trivia Recap. Hooray! Loud cheers, applause, mass hysteria, people running through the streets, all kinds of rioting. And that's just a typical Sunday in Philadelphia when it's Eagles versus Dallas, people. The Eagles played the Dallas Cowboys today, and that is a heated rivalry here in Philadelphia. We have the New York Giants, the Washington Redskins, and the Dallas Cowboys. And you'd figure geographically our biggest hated rival would be the New York Giants. But if you talk to most people here in Philly, the team they despise, absolutely despise the most, is without a doubt the Dallas Cowboys. So this is a big day here. They're playing the Cowboys, 4 o'clock this afternoon. It'll be quite the event. I think they're actually in Dallas. I don't think they're home today, but don't quote me on that. I don't pay attention to football, believe it or not. I just hear, you can't not live in this area and not know that today's Dallas Eagles. So anyway, let's get to this great trivia question. It's World Series time. We'll get to what happened in the World Series later on when it's relevant to the Friday question. But today, we're starting with the Monday question. On Monday, my question was, it was World Series time, so all the questions this week were World Series related. When was the very first World Series MVP issue? Because again, they've been playing the World Series since 1903, but they never gave out an MVP award until what year? And the answer was 1955. And then I asked who won that first MVP award, and it was Johnny Padres. Johnny Padres, pitcher for the Brooklyn Dodgers. He was the one who won. He had a complete game shutout, 2-0 in Game 7. Johnny Padres is the answer. This is his 1995 Brooklyn Dodgers like a commemorative top set. Everybody from the Boys of Summer era, they reprinted their cards in a special standard size and put a little note at the bottom explaining what this was. So this is my Brooklyn Dodgers throwback card of Johnny Padres, obviously the 54 design. What you are playing for is a cool Donruss Greats Mike Schmidt card from 2005. You can barely see the 2005 logo there. Mike Schmidt was the MVP in 1980 when the Phillies won the World Series. Quick trivia question. I'll give you 2 seconds to answer before I spill the beans. Who was the MVP for the Phillies in 2008 when they won the World Series? And Cole Hamels is the answer to that question. So, anyway, the people on the screen here were kind enough to throw out a guess. I'm going to scroll down so you can see your name. Make sure you're on there. And everybody here was kind enough to throw out a guess, so they are entered onto the wheel. We will shuffle once and spin. In order to win, you have to hit 3 times on my channel. I do that because I like to draw out the suspense. I got a bunch of regulars up here today, so you guys all know how it works. Let's spin. Good luck. So, yeah, the wounds are healing out here in Philly. You know, we're talking about what went wrong. What do we do in the off season to get better? I mean, they fully expect to go back to the playoffs again next year. You know, it's not for certain that they will overtake the Braves. The Braves are pretty darn good, but you know, there's a lot of questions. The biggest questions here are, what do you do with Aaron Nola? Aaron Nola is in his free agency year, and he is an elite pitcher. Whether you think he's, you know, he's not. No one's looking at him like a Justin Verlander or a Max Scherzer. But out of the options for pitchers out there, Aaron Nola is one of the top names. Three good nerds. Boom, boom, boom. Congrats, guys. To the 3 Good Nerds family, you'll be getting this awesome Mike Schmidt card. I say awesome because he's my guy. So congrats to the 3 Good Nerds family. You'll be getting that awesome card. Keep an eye out. All right. Moving on to Wednesday's question. The individuals on this screen were up for Wednesday's question. The question was, in what year was the very first night game played in the World Series. Now, night games had been around since the what would I say? Since 1935, which when they played the first night game. It took quite a while for it to become a regular like it is now. Now you wouldn't think about, there's a couple day games mixed in. Out here in Philly, every Sunday game is an afternoon day game, and they have various various day games mixed into the schedule. But for the most part, they're all night games. Makes sense financially. More people can go to a night game. Everybody's working. So it took a while, but eventually there was a night game during a World Series. And what year was the very first night game played? 1971. 1971 World Series. This is off of Wikipedia. 1971 World Series was the championship round of Major League Baseball's 1971 season and featured the first night game in its history. Pirates versus, I want to say, Reds at the time. I might be wrong. It might have been the Orioles, but anyway, it was the Pirates who won in 71. Roberto Clemente's climactic MVP performance. So that is the answer. What you are playing for is this awesome 1992 Classic Best minor league card. It is a blue foil parallel version of the original card in the set. BC bonus card number 16. Pre-rookie of Hall of Fame catcher Mike Piazza. That is what you are playing for on this one. Again, the individuals on the screen were kind enough to throw out a guess. So everybody is up for grabs on this one. Three Good Nerds did not throw out a guess, so he does not need to be eliminated. You can only win once a week on my channel. We will shuffle once on this one and spin. Good luck to everybody on this one. So yeah, there doesn't seem to be a lot of pitching talent out there, high-level pitching talent. And Cole Hamels is going to be one of those pitchers who is sought after by a lot of clubs. With the fact that he's going to be sought after by a lot of clubs, there's a severe concern here that his cost will be excessive, that his demand price will be too high. After all, we just signed several players to long term. Look at that, Lisa Z, boom, 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 1, 2, 3, pretty much nailed it. So congrats, Lisa. You'll get this Mike Piazza pre-playing era card. Moving on to Friday. Now, Friday was an interesting question. When I filmed it, I didn't know the result of the World Series. So let's talk about the question real quick. Friday's question was, which teams have yet to win a World Series ever in their franchise history? Okay. Now, I knew that the Texas Rangers were on that list. The Diamondbacks had actually done it back in 2001. So the Diamondbacks weren't on the list, but Texas was. So if Texas pulled it out, their name would be removed from this. And I did mention that. I said, by now it's possible that the World Series is over, and it was by that time. And it's, you're going to have to figure out who is going to be, who is it that, I'm blanking. Who on the list of World Series winners is still there? Did the Texas come off the list? Texas did come off the list. Who is still on the list? Bam. Colorado Rockies have yet to win a World Series. They did appear in the World Series back in 2007, but lost to the Red Sox. Milwaukee Brewers have appeared once in a single World Series in 1982, and they lost to the Cardinals. Padres have been to a couple World Series. They lost to the Tigers in '84, and they lost to the Yankees during either '98 or '99. During the Yankees' first comeback era in the late '90s, Padres were one of the teams that went down in flames there. Tampa Bay Rays have been to the World Series against the Phillies in 2008 and thankfully lost. And then there's the lowly Mariners, who have never even been to a World Series. So these 5 teams are the only teams remaining in all of baseball who have yet to win a World Series. Let's talk about the Rangers. The Rangers, let me go back to this list. Every team on this list, every one is an expansion team. The Rangers also were an expansion team. The Rangers actually were the second incarnation of the Washington Senators. So, a little bit of baseball history. I'm sorry I'm diverting here, but I think these kind of things are interesting. From the early days of baseball in the early 1900s up through about the early 1950s, the teams in the major leagues never moved for about 50 years. Now, when the American League started, there were a couple teams that shifted franchise locations real early. But by 1903, everything had settled in the American League. And certainly by 1900, everything had settled in the National League. Okay, so the leagues were set in about 1903 going forward. And then in the early 1950s, Baltimore and Baltimore, or I should say, the St. Louis Browns and the the Boston Braves chose to leave their respective cities. And it wasn't too long before a lot of other teams began jumping ship for greener pastures. The Philadelphia A's eventually left. Obviously the two New York teams, the Brooklyn and the New York Giants, jumped to greener pastures. Suddenly teams began to move. Eventually the Washington Senators left Washington. They went to become the Minnesota Twins. So in 1960, the powers of Major League Baseball decided to expand. There were a couple reasons for that. One is they liked the idea of having a team in Washington, D.C. They liked having a team in the nation's capital. And the Senators moving to Minnesota Twins kind of killed that. They also knew that the New York market was too big for just one team, and they needed another city in New York. So they needed to expand. What forced them to expand was that Branch Rickey, if you know Branch Rickey, the longtime president, general manager, owner, part-time owner of different franchises, started with the St. Louis Cardinals, moved on to the Dodgers, and then to the Pirates before he left Major League Baseball. Branch Rickey saw an opportunity to create a third major league. He could see that there were cities clamoring for major league quality baseball. And he began gathering backers, and he began with earnest putting together a league that would rival the major leagues and demand recognition as a third major league. He was a baseball insider. He knew everybody. He knew the players. He was getting strong financial backing, and it was going to happen. He was going to call it the Continental League. Well, in an effort to destroy that threat to their monopoly, the baseball owners expanded. They put two teams, one in Los Angeles and one in Washington, D.C. That was the new Washington Senators and the Los Angeles Angels. And then in 1962, they expanded the National League by putting in the New York Mets and the Houston Colt 45s. Actually, it was Colt 45s first. So in order to, that killed Branch Rickey's dream, because they basically approached those owners, those people Branch Rickey had found who were willing to back his Continental League, and said, hey, we'll give you a major league franchise if you stick with us. So everybody deserted Branch Rickey's dream and joined the major leagues. So the Continental League was destroyed in that manner, thanks to some quick work by the baseball owners. Anyway, the Texas Rangers were originally the second incarnation of the Washington Senators, starting in 1961, and we are at 2023, and they finally won their first World Series championship. So, getting back to the question at hand, those five teams were your answer. The prize you were playing for: Adolis Garcia, second-year Gold Cup card. He had quite the postseason, and his name is a huge name among baseball fans everywhere these days. So this is his second-year Topps card, the Gold Cup version. This is from last year. All right, that's what you're playing for. And again, the individuals up on the screen were kind enough to send out a guess. We will remove Lisa Z And then the other one was Three Good Nerds, but Three Good Nerds did not make it to Friday's questions. So Lisa's the only one off the list. We will shuffle once and spin. Again, you must hit 3 times, so good luck to everybody on this one. Yeah, there's a huge concern that Aaron Nola's price tag is going to be too high. You got Trey Turner, Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber, Nick Castellanos, all locked up on huge dollar value contracts. So the Phillies we don't know if the Phillies are going to pay the money for Aaron Nola that he's going to demand. I mean, it doesn't matter if they want to pay it to him. He's going to get offers of it. He's going to get obscene offers for teams that have the money and don't have the pitching. He really is. I mean, we have what do you want to say? We have Chris Wheeler, Zach Wheeler up front in our rotation. Ranger Suarez has been pretty good, and whether you think Taijuan Walker is a good player or a pitcher or a mediocre pitcher, he won 15 games last year for us. So, I mean, we have pitching depth. Certainly, the loss of Aaron Nola is going to hurt. And there's not like we can go out and find another pitcher out there in the market. There aren't a lot this offseason. So knowing that, there's a lot of speculation here in Philly that the Phillies are going to just suck it up and pay the money that Nola wants, because if they don't, they're going to have to find a pitcher and pay the money anyway. So why not keep the guy you have? Now, there's also a lot of talk that Aaron Nola wants to go somewhere else, that he's not happy here. I don't see that as true. I don't think he wants to go somewhere else per se. I do know that he wants the money. He knows what he's worth, and this is his payday. We locked him up early in his career. We saw how good he was, and we put him in a long-term contract that kept him here. Well, now that contract is up, and it's time for him to cash out on his performance. Jeremy Michaels. Okay, Jeremy Michaels gets his third hit. So, Jeremy, you'll be getting this awesome card. Now, to finish my Aaron Nola story, I think they're going to pay him. There's nobody else out there. And, it's going to be a lot of money, unfortunately. So the Phillies are going to be hurting. If they don't win World Series, they're going to have a lot of explaining to do to the fans, because, I mean, they've spent all the money. They've done all the moves. Now it's time to win and to do it convincingly. So we'll see what happens. That's all I have for you today. Come back again on Monday for more great trivia and prizes. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, please consider subscribing, commenting, and all that jazz. And we'll see you again next week for more great trivia and prizes. All right? Thanks for watching, and take care.